If motivation feels like it comes in strong and then suddenly vanishes, especially right when you actually need it most, you're not broken, you're not lazy, and you're definitely not alone. Literally last week, I had this glorious 6 hour block with absolutely nothing scheduled, pure, uninterrupted time. And I had big plans. I was going to tackle some major projects, really move the needle forward. I was even excited about it, motivated. And then I kind of just pissed the time away. Not on bad things, just low priority, easy access tasks. Admin to dos, random folder organizing, stuff I barely remember now. You know the drill. By the time the block was over, I felt deflated and frustrated. Like, what just happened? If you've had a version of that experience or struggle with ADHD motivation in general, today's episode is for you. Because cultivating lasting motivation when you have ADHD is a completely different game. And most of the advice out there just doesn't cut it. So today we're going to break down what motivation actually is for ADHD brains, why it's not your fault when it feels inconsistent, and how to build motivation in a way that works with your brain instead of against it. Welcome to the Self-Loved ADHD Woman's Way podcast. I'm your host, Jen Barnes. If you're an ADHD woman entrepreneur, ADHD adjacent, or ADHD-ish, you've come to the right place. We'll dive deep into the unique challenges you face, from the inner turmoil to the outer obstacles. We'll blend neuroscience, IFS, and somatic healing, and explore practical strategies to help you navigate the world of entrepreneurship with ADHD with greater ease and effectiveness. I'm glad you're here. Hey, it's Jen. I'm so glad you're here. Motivation with ADHD is one of the things I'm asked about the most, so I'm really excited to dig in. And so I don't miss anything, this episode is a bit more planned out, and so may feel a little less like me talking as things come up to my brain with musings and reflections and gentle guidance, and more like clear instructions for specific strategies to experiment with. So here we go. Let's start with the sciencey part, because I think this is so validating to understand. Motivation lives in a part of the brain that's heavily influenced by dopamine, and ADHD brains don't have access to dopamine the same way neurotypical brains do. It's not a character flaw or like a moral judgment. It's just a neurological difference. What that means is we struggle with reward anticipation. We often need immediate feedback to stay engaged. Think about like those little likes when you get likes on Facebook or Instagram or whatever. That's that gratification, right? We are aware of only two times, now and not now. And we feel either understimulated or totally overwhelmed, which creates this fun little cocktail where we want to do the thing, but can't start the thing. Or we start, but lose steam halfway through. Or we get sidetracked by something shinier. Hello, inbox. The reality is motivation in ADHD isn't linear, it's not logical, it's emotional, and it's often driven by urgency, novelty, or high-stakes pressure, none of which are sustainable over time. So here's what most emotional advice sounds like. Just push through it, be more disciplined, visualize your success. It's like telling someone with a broken ankle to just run harder, right? The problem is most of that advice assumes that you have easy access to consistent dopamine, that you can easily delay gratification, and that you have linear energy and focus. None of those are reliably true for ADHD brains. So when we try those strategies and they don't work, we blame ourselves. Cue the shame spiral, right? But here's the truth. If you don't understand how your brain gets motivated, it's easy to think you have a willpower problem, when really it's a strategy mismatch. So let's shift gears now and talk about what actually does work for us. Number one, use dopamine loops intentionally. Instead of waiting for motivation to show up, prime it. Put on energizing music or good focus music. My favorite is to look for Hertz music, Hertz, on YouTube, that matches the frequency of what I need in that moment. Light a candle, change your environment. Use temptation building by pairing the boring task with something enjoyable, like a mocha or your favorite playlist. Try body doubling, like being around someone else can be a huge dopamine boost. This is about creating the spark instead of waiting for it. And you also have heard me say something that's equally important is you are creating a nice baseline dopamine. And no one likes to hear this, so this is going to be wildly unpopular. But in order to create a nice baseline dopamine that will help your ADHD, one of the best things you can do is get movement in your body every single day, at least 30 minutes of exercise or movement of some kind to create that nice baseline dopamine. Number 2, create rhythms, not rigid routines. Motivation feeds on momentum, but if a routine gets too rigid, you might rebel. So try building flexible rhythms. A gentle morning routine, or I like to call it my morning self-love ritual, can shift based on your energy. Have weekly reset rituals. I do mine on Sunday evenings. Have themed days or time blocks that evolve over time. So for me, Thursdays are a day when I batch most of my video content if I can. Give your brain structure, but also room to breathe. And remember that sometimes you're gonna have to change things in your quote unquote routine or ritual so that it stays interesting. And instead of shaming yourself or saying, oh, routines don't work for me, I'm allergic to routines. No, it's just you got bored and you need to spice it up a little bit. Number 3, clarify your why. ADHD motivation is fueled by meaning. So if something feels pointless or disconnected, your brain will totally ghost it. And that's not because you're flaky, it's because the task lost its emotional charge. So ask yourself, why does this matter to me? What makes this matter to me? What is this connected to my values or goals? Who else benefits when I follow through? And that one's particularly important for those of you that are obligers, which I talk about, where you're motivated more by external cues than internal ones. When you know your why, it creates emotional weight. And that's one thing that can get the wheels turning. Number 4, make progress visible. Out of sight, out of mind is real for us. That's why visual cues are so powerful. Use sticky notes or a Kanban board. Right now, I had all these tasks I wasn't getting to. So I did all these color-coded sticky notes and put them in categories on a poster board just to get it out of my brain. And it has been so much easier for me to get to those tasks now. Cross things off of a checklist. I personally use Flow, which is it's a paid application. It's like a couple $100 a year. I can put my affiliate link in the description so that you can get a discount. But I use that because when you cross something off the list, then you get like a little ding, and it's awesome. It's like a nice little reward, right? Great for the ADHD brain. Other things you can do, journal one win at the end of each day. I find that super powerful, especially on those days like the one I talked about at the beginning of this episode where I didn't feel like I did anything. Because I did actually get some things done that day, just not everything I planned to and not the huge big project I wanted to work on. Even tiny visible progress creates a feedback loop in your brain, and then you're going to want to keep going. Number 5, reset often. This might be the most important one, and quite frankly, is probably the least talked about one. Expect to lose motivation. Expect your motivation to ebb and flow. You're going to have days where we talk about good, better, best days, right? Where if your motivation is in a good place, then you're going to get a good amount of stuff done. If it's in a better place, you might get better amount of stuff done. If it's in its best place, then you're going to get like the best amount of stuff done you could ever do, right? So just expect your motivation to ebb and flow. Expect to drift. Expect to need to come back to center over and over again. And expect to be flexible and adaptable with the systems you set up for yourself, because your interest in them will wane unless you spice them up. None of this is failure. That's just how it works with an ADHD brain. And one of the best ways to reset is through nervous system regulation, which is why, by the way, I created the 28-day challenge to regulate your nervous system with ADHD, because no strategy will work if your body is stuck in fight, flight, or freeze or shutdown mode. When you feel safe, grounded, and supportive, your motivation becomes a lot more accessible. So I want to leave you with this. Motivation isn't a fixed state. A lot of times we think like, oh, I'm motivated or I'm not motivated. Yes or no, black and white. But really, think about it this way. Motivation is a relationship. And like any relationship, it needs care, attention, and understanding. There will be seasons or days or hours where you're on fire, and seasons where you need deep rest. There will be days where your brain is all in, and others where you need every trick in the book to get through a single task. For real, this still happens to me. I am a highly productive ADHD woman, and yet this still happens. That's not a failure. That's just life with ADHD. So instead of chasing constant motivation and then shaming yourself for not being able to do it, what if we built the conditions for it to show up more often? That's how we cultivate lasting motivation, through rhythms, value, increasing our connection with dopamine the ways that we can, and grace. If today's episode resonated, I'd love it for you to take just one of these ideas. Only take one. I know our ADHD brains are like all or nothing, but take just one and try it this week. Take a small step. Small steps are things we're better able to stick with. Plus, it's novel. Whereas if you do all the novel things at once, it's going to be harder. And then you can come back and listen another time, or maybe you kept notes. I don't know. And see what shifts for you as you do one of these strategies. And of course, please share this episode with someone else who really needs this right now. And if you want guided support to build these systems and get your energy back, come join me in the 28-day challenge to regulate your nervous system. Because when your nervous system is regulated, motivation gets easier to access and it starts feeling a lot less mysterious. Thank you so much for being here. And if you're not already, please follow this podcast, or if you're catching it on YouTube, please subscribe. And again, thanks for being here. Take care.